Welcome back to Secrets in the Shadows, where we dive into the most fascinating and chilling true crime stories. Today, I have a story for you that is unlike anything you've ever heard. A real-life heist that sounds like it came straight out of a movie. It's known as the Pizza Bomber case, and trust me, it's as strange as it is tragic. But before we get into it, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button if you love true crime stories like this. And make sure to click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Let's take a closer look at how this mind-boggling case began. It's the afternoon of August 28, 2003, in Erie, Pennsylvania. Brian Wells is a 46-year-old pizza delivery driver who's been working for years at a local pizzeria called Mamma Mia's. By all accounts, he's a quiet guy, lives a simple life, and mostly keeps to himself. That day, Brian is sent out to deliver 2 pizzas to an address that seems a little unusual. A remote spot at the end of a dirt road, near a transmission tower. Nothing about this delivery feels right. But Brian doesn't ask too many questions. It's his job, and he's just doing what he's supposed to. When Brian arrives, it's clear this isn't a typical delivery. Instead of meeting a hungry customer, he's ambushed by a group of people. They overpower him and strap a bomb collar around his neck. Imagine how terrifying this must have been for him. They tell Brian that the bomb is real and that it will explode if he doesn't follow their instructions. The group hands Brian a series of notes, handwritten, detailed, and chilling. These instructions lay out a bizarre scavenger hunt. Each clue is supposed to lead him to another task, and they claim that completing all of them will eventually deactivate the bomb. But here's the catch. They also send him to rob a bank. At this point, Brian is likely in complete shock. He's standing there with a bomb locked around his neck, staring at these people who are threatening his life. Whether he was in on it from the start or coerced into it, this is where he's left with no choice. The group sends him off, with the bomb ticking down, to commit a bank robbery. This is how Brian Wells, an ordinary pizza delivery driver, ends up at the center of one of the most infamous and twisted crimes in U.S. history. After leaving the bank with just over $8,700 in cash, Brian Wells gets back into his car, a small Geo Metro. He's sticking to the instructions left for him, believing that completing this bizarre scavenger hunt is his only chance to survive. The notes tell him where to go next, and he begins driving toward the next location. But Brian doesn't make it far. Within minutes of leaving the bank, the police spot his car and pull him over in a nearby parking lot of an Eyeglass World store. Officers approach cautiously. They can see the bulky, strange device locked around his neck. They're not sure if it's a real bomb or a bluff, but they aren't taking any chances. Brian is ordered to get out of the car. He complies, but he's clearly panicked. Officers handcuff him and have him sit on the ground, far from his car. All the while, Brian is pleading with them. He says things like, "I'm not lying," and "The bomb is going to go off." He begs them to help him, to find someone who can take the bomb off. At this point, police call in the bomb squad, but Erie is a small city. The nearest bomb technicians are miles away. Time is running out. Brian is visibly terrified. The clock on the bomb is ticking down, and he knows it. He keeps telling the officers that he was forced to wear the device and follow the instructions, or he'd be killed. The officers keep their distance. They don't want to risk setting off the bomb, but at the same time, they don't know how much time they have to save him. Then, the unthinkable happens. Just as Brian is sitting on the ground, the bomb starts beeping loudly. A horrifying, high-pitched sound that everyone knows means something terrible is about to happen. Within seconds, the device detonates. The explosion is small but devastating. The bomb blows a hole in Brian's chest, killing him almost instantly. Officers and bystanders are in shock. They've just witnessed a man die in the most horrifying way imaginable. The moment is captured on live television by news crews who had arrived on the scene. Viewers across the country watch in disbelief as this strange and tragic event unfolds in real time. Even more chilling, after the explosion, investigators approach Brian's body and discover that the bomb was intricately designed, with multiple locks, wires, and a combination code. It wasn't something hastily thrown together. It was a deliberate, carefully planned device. At that moment, it becomes clear that this wasn't just a bank robbery gone wrong. This was part of a much larger, much more sinister plan. The question everyone is now asking is, who did this, and why? And as investigators dig deeper, the story only gets stranger. After the bomb's tragic detonation, investigators were left with more questions than answers. Who made this intricate device? Was Brian Wells truly a victim, or was he involved in some way? And most importantly, why did this happen? The investigation took months, but piece by piece, a shocking web of conspirators and motives began to emerge. At the center of it all was a woman named Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong, a brilliant but deeply troubled individual with a long history of mental illness and criminal behavior. Marjorie wasn't working alone. She was part of a small group of conspirators, including a man named Kenneth Barnes, who was an ex-television repairman turned crack dealer. Kenneth would later turn into a key informant, spilling the secrets of their deadly plan. But why would anyone come up with such a bizarre and horrifying crime? The answer lies in Marjorie's twisted motives. She wanted money, a lot of it. Her primary goal was to hire a hitman to kill her own father, believing that once he was dead, she could inherit his fortune. But she needed cash to fund her plan, and that's where the bank robbery came in. Marjorie and her group planned the entire heist in meticulous detail. They created the bomb collar, crafted the scavenger hunt notes, and recruited Brian Wells, though it's still debated whether he was a willing participant or a pawn forced into the scheme. Another member of the group was William Bill Rothstein, a former boyfriend of Marjorie. Bill was a highly intelligent man, but like Marjorie, he had a dark side. He lived in a house not far from where Brian delivered the pizzas on that fateful day. Investigators believe this is where Brian was ambushed and the bomb collar was strapped onto his neck. And if this wasn't already twisted enough, Marjorie and Bill had a complicated, toxic relationship. They had dated years earlier, but their connection remained, and they seemed to feed off each other's instability. Bill even helped cover up other crimes Marjorie was involved in, including the murder of one of her past boyfriends. So how did the investigators link Marjorie, Kenneth, and Bill to the crime? It started with a tip from Kenneth Barnes. After being arrested for unrelated charges, he decided to cooperate with the authorities and revealed the entire scheme. He admitted that Marjorie was the mastermind and that Brian Wells had been lured into the plan under false pretenses. Bill Rothstein also played a pivotal role, though in a strange way. He initially tried to distance himself from the crime, but ended up implicating Marjorie in other criminal activities. His house became a treasure trove of evidence, and it was clear he was heavily involved in the planning. As for Marjorie, she didn't go quietly. She was defiant and manipulative, and tried to use her mental health issues as a defense. But in the end, the evidence against her was overwhelming. Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, where she spent the rest of her days until her death in 2017. Kenneth Barnes was also sentenced to decades behind bars for his role. Bill Rothstein passed away before he could face justice, but his involvement remains a dark chapter in the case. The Pizza Bomber case is remembered not just for its shocking and tragic outcome, but for the deeply disturbed individuals who orchestrated it. It's a chilling reminder of how greed, manipulation, and mental instability can create a deadly combination. In the end, the story leaves us with lingering questions. Was Brian Wells fully innocent? Or did he agree to participate, thinking it was all a game? And what other secrets might Marjorie and her conspirators have taken to their graves? If you're as fascinated by this case as I am, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think Brian's role was in all this? Stay safe out there, and remember, not everything is as it seems. Thanks for watching Secrets in the Shadows. See you next time.